us a little talk about
introduction.
who you are?
I appreciate it. Let me go for it. It's kind of different. Every year I think I'm going to run is going to become easy. It actually gets more difficult, and now I'm against no one, so we'll give it a go. I'm your Students' Union President. It's been a... well, let me start by saying that despite me not running against anyone, most certainly I'm not taking it for granted. I'm going to continue my campaign and campaign as hard as I can to win your trust, win your votes, as though I am running against someone. So I hope you guys appreciate that in that sense. It's been a challenging year for all of us in terms of finances. I know it's been quite tough for societies and sports teams. Oh, sorry, I thought you were signaling. But nonetheless, I'm very proud to be part of during the the year of change, if you like, in the Students' Union, where we had to build a more stable organisation, a more financially accountable organisation as well. Historically, the Students' Union has been spending money without really thinking about the future as such. And this year, it's been more of, okay, we want to spend money, but we need to think about the future as well. So a few years from now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. We're going to go straight into the questions. The first question is, like you said, you're running unopposed. Why do you think you're running unopposed when last year you had 6 candidates here?
I don't even know what to say. I'm never going to try and crack a joke or anything because it might just be misconstrued. I have no idea. I genuinely don't know. It would have been much better if I was running against someone, but nonetheless, like I said, I hope it doesn't make a difference. It certainly won't make a difference from my side because I'm going to, like I said, be campaigning as hard as I can to get your votes.
Still speaking about last year's campaign, you don't seem to have seen through some of your manifesto points from last year. Please can you explain why this is?
What ones?
I don't actually have your manifesto.
Okay, I think the only one which I never achieved was the 24-hour student kitchen. I recognize as small things that make massive impacts on people's lives, and one of them was having students that the accessibility to a microwave, a kettle, to try and save some money. We've faced the university kept shutting the doors on our face and saying no, it's health and safety and whatnot. Whilst we kept arguing like, come on, they said the risk is someone blowing up the microwave and killing loads of people and stuff. But we said you wouldn't do it at home, why would you do it at university? Having said that, what they have taken into consideration is that there will be some changes made around campuses, and so they'll be looking for safe spaces where they can put a microwave and a kettle and so forth.
You mentioned that the only manifesto point that you haven't accomplished at this point is the kitchen, but you mentioned in your previous manifesto about making the QH online.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, okay, it's actually taken longer than. The thing is, when you come into position, you realize there are certain priorities, and of course, and I tried my best. We've only been in office for about 7 months now, and it hasn't even been a year, and I think we've all done exceptionally well in terms of achieving our targets, really. In terms of the QH being online, we're actually working on it, and it was supposed to be online last week. It's been postponed to this week, so hopefully, cross your fingers, it'll be on live by Saturday and Sunday, or one of the days in the weekend for sure.
You mentioned that you've been in this 7 months. How do you feel that your first presidency has gone, your first term as president?
Like I said, I'm very proud to be part of. I'm so happy that I was actually president in this year, like a year of change, where you're making significant changes to the institution, where you're building solid foundations so that the organisation can go from strength to strength in that regard. Accountability, transparency. We've made significant changes in terms of the diversity forum that all the SABs have been part of, where we can give a platform for every single student to come and voice their issues, concerns, and we can act upon them from there. So it's been a very challenging year, but nonetheless, obviously not. So one of the issues which I we all struggled with is when students come to us and they say, we want money, and you turn around and say, well, we can't actually fund that or afford that at the moment. It's tough because you want to be the person that says, okay, let's sit down, let's work on it together, and here's the money, and go implement it and do what you want. But nonetheless, we've tried to find a creative way of supporting students.
Just on that topic of funding, one of your manifesto points was to increase funding. How can you promise an increase in funding for societies when we have heard about nothing? All we've heard about is cuts this year.
Exactly.
So how can you actually increase funding for societies when there are cuts everywhere?
Okay. Excuse me. When I first ran, I said that we need to be financially stable, and I said that we need to diversify. My manifesto point last year said that we need to diversify our income streams. And in fact, when I came into office, this is something that we've been working on so hard. How do we, as a student union, not only rely on the block grant that the university gives us, but how do we engage with external organizations to sponsor us? How can we generate more income through our, sort of the events that we do? And I'm working on that at the moment, working with JS at the moment on the Finance and Audit Committee on producing a paper on how we can diversify our income. And apart from that, that's one side of that. So a detailed research report, how we can make more money essentially, and see what sort of our comparative sort of organizations, how they're sort of doing very well. But also, we're also going to apply for a bigger subvention grant from the university, hopefully. And that's why obviously we have more money in sense to subsidize sort of societies. And let me emphasize on that point. I say societies in sports because that is such an important part of what the union should be working on, empowering students to be able to take sort of initiative, leadership roles to influence change themselves. So leaders within leaders as opposed to just us.
Please explain to us what the WIN project is and what's your involvement in that.
Sure. Excuse me. The WIN project is something that university are looking to introduce, and it's all about the peer-assisted mentoring. So how can first years essentially pass on their sort of expertise or their knowledge down to second years and sort of second years down to first years. So it's all about sort of peer-assisted learning, how we can work together collaboratively sort of to help each other. Now this project has actually been sort of put on standstill since last year. And it's something that I mentioned last year. I wanted to see our university implement something called the peer-assisted learning. And one of the things I wanted to do was, and unfortunately I didn't do it, and I'll say later on why, was, for example, language exchanges. I wanted to do something called languages over lunch. But it turned out that university had already nicked that idea and have done it already. So instead of me going to do something quite similar to it, why not, I said, work with this project, with that university are doing, but ensuring that it does actually get implemented, because it has been sort of on standstill since last year anyway. And sort of the meetings that we've been having with the with the two women who are involved in the WIN project was that they want to see the student union engage with it even more. And I said I want to ensure that before my term, whether that is obviously I get elected or not, I said I want to ensure that before my term ends in July, that this project's actually ready to go from September and institutionalized. And so as a student union, we'll be involved in the recruiting process, we'll be involved in the training of these students to become peer assistants, sort of mentors, if you like.
Okay. We're going to go to the audience, so any audience questions for Kaled? Just one second, come back to you.
I have a question regarding the what happened last year at the election. Do you feel that the reason that no one is running against you is due to the fact that there was a lot of controversy around you last year? Like, as if a lot of the other students that could have run for the presidential section were scared off by it? Scared off by what? By me? Just by the fact that what happened. The controversy? Yeah.
Well, I certainly hope not. In fact, what happened last year actually was a massive lesson for us as a students' union, because there wasn't so much, and we all know this as sabbaticals and people involved in the students' union, that there wasn't really a structure. When issues like this do happen, there was nothing in place. There was nothing like, okay, how do we deal with it? Everyone was panicking, everyone was struggling. When in fact, my situation, it would have been as simple as, okay, give him an appeal, let's listen to it and find out. In fact, it took 3 months to just give me that appeal. And so it's actually something students should have seen it in a better light. The students' union was at very tipping point in terms of organizational sort of structure, and something we all came through it. In fact, and I'm happy I came through it in a more positive manner. So I'm quite surprised students didn't run actually, because if anything did occur in that nature, it most certainly wouldn't have got to that stage, or wouldn't have been as severe as last year for sure. Hope that answers your question.
As we heard tonight, many VPs here, how would you steer that? How would you lead the VPs to be on your message, basically?
Well, I wouldn't say on my message only, because we're all sort of leaders. And in fact, society, presidents, committee members, students, you're all leaders. So we're all leaders within leaders. So it's not what I want to do only, it's what every single officer wants to do, it's what every single student wants to do. And I'm happy that I'm very content that I'm working with the people that I have at the moment. And hopefully whoever comes in next year, they have the same really, really good experience in terms of working together collaboratively on the same wavelength and the same vision to better students' lives through so-and-so and several projects, as opposed to just saying it.
Moving on to your vision of a course rec council.
Yeah.
How would you go about implementing and making sure that it's effective rather than just a bunch of students coming together and moaning?
Okay, at the moment, a course rep council, the structure is that you have every faculty, students go and attend, and they sit on these course rep councils, but they sort of voice their concerns, and it just stays within that campus or within that course. What I want to do is we all have to work together as a campus. We're divided, so let's do something. Bring everyone together in terms of, let's find out what's happening at Marylebone in their faculties, what's happening at Regis and Politics, at IR, Law, what's happening in Science and Technology in Cavendish, or in the art departments in Harrow. Let's find out what the best practices are, or what the worst sort of what's not been done properly in one sort of place, and that has to be a sort of a one unified course rep council, so we can all voice our sort of, students can actually voice their concerns and their issues, and then from then you take those points, you give them to your VPs, and they actually sort of lobby them or put them forward in their academic councils, and that's how it changes influence, really, as opposed to a divided sort of university and different entities working separately.
Hi, Kaled.
Well, oh, what's up, man?
Right, I've got 3 questions for you, and I'm sure it's okay because there's no one sitting next to you. But, right, three points. So, number 1, you spoke earlier on about effectively making the financial pot for the SU grow so that we can do a lot more with money, so we don't run out of money sort of midway through the year. And you spoke about having reports and stuff like that, and to be able to generate ways that we can bring in more income. How long is that realistically going to take? Because obviously you only really have from September to arguably the end of March, realistically, in the academic year. So how long will it take to generate a report and actually for that to be put in action? Secondly, obviously every candidate has spoken about how they aim to work with the student union to get more students involved in things within the university. How would you as a president bring all of those campuses together, and what would be your aims for each campus, and what would be your aims for that integration? And thirdly, it's a bit of a touchy point, but I know you can handle it. What would you say to certain comments that you're very, very good at presenting, very, very slick with your tongue, you're very, very, very articulate, and you come across like a fantastic politician, and you're very, very good at what you do when you speak, but you're maybe not so proactive with actually getting things done. What would you do to dispel those rumours? Okay,
I'll take the first one and diversify the income. Like I said, I'm not going to promise that we're going to have more money by March. Most certainly not. What I'm saying is we've gone through sort of a year of change, and in fact, hopefully from the next academic year, we'll have more income to be able to sort of fund more society events. And in terms of how long the work that I'm doing to be able to produce this report, well, I'm working with one external trustee. Her name is Liz from University of East London, and so I hope that report will be done by the next month when our trustee board meeting is supposed to be due to take place. So that report is being worked on as of now. In terms of your second question, sorry.
How long? Contain the amount of time it takes to action for things in plan. Because obviously you could generate a report. A lot of movements ask the question. You could generate a report that says that you generate a report and it might take you still another 4 months to actually produce the goods. So are you aiming to get that report generated in a month and then action within 2 weeks after that?
Okay, let's say this. At the moment, we've actually done steps as well. So it's not like I'm saying I'm only the whole year I've been waiting on the report, for example. In fact, we've had some restructures in our staff restructuring, and we've got a commercial and fundraising manager. So in fact, something has been done already to try and actually generate income throughout the year. And he's been working on it. Ash, who works at Harrow, and he's been working on actually producing sort of revenue sort of streams happening from either sort of events and external or university events. So something's been happening, but we need to do much more. And this is hopefully this detailed report with sort of thorough research on how we can actually do something on a much bigger scale.
So just going back to that question, do you actually have a timeline of how long it will actually take to implement?
Well, like every report, it's a strategic plan. I'm not going to come and say, okay, let's just do something very quickly, because we could snap our fingers and say, okay, let's just host an event and charge everyone sort of X and Y and make money. Let's try go and knock on sort of some business doors, but this has to all be done within a structure, because if I leave or if any other officer leaves or if someone just leaves, do we take all these with us? No, it has to be institutionalized within the student union, in a report, in something, in a strategic plan, saying this is the vision, this is what needs to be implemented for a number of years, and hopefully for the next 3 years and so on. So yeah, the report will take sort of a month or so to produce, and then the actions will take, well, I can't put you a number, but it could take a week, it could take a month, it could take a few months.
Onto your second question.
Second question, how to bring all campuses together? I think you have to look at it in two stages. The first priority is not bringing all the campuses together as such. Let's focus on producing something, giving something back to those students on those campuses. And that's what each and every VP has been doing so far. So through the SSAs, through the community events that have been hosting, all these things are bringing students more engaged with the Students' Union. And that's why we have offices on each and every single campus to bring them more active. In terms of on a wider scale, sort of our ambition really is to have more sort of bigger events. So instead of having one small event in regions, let's not have a massive event in, say, Harrow or Marylebone or what campus, and actually invite, so i.e. the variety show, etc. More bigger sort of events as opposed to just smaller events. And I need not say that these are important as sort of the bigger events.
I would like to say though, but
Please.
other campuses I can't speak for, but I wouldn't mind seeing you at an SSA meeting once in a while.
I agree, and that's sort of this has been sort of the part of my job which I didn't enjoy much, because I ran for this position and I wanted to literally be out there speaking to every single student, going around and literally engaging, and I wish I'd done more of it, but.
Had a whole academic year, do you know what I mean? Like, we're towards the end now, and unless you're going to tell me that you might turn up on Monday.
No, it's not that. It's not about.
You know, like, you've had a little while.
Yeah.
I agree, but that doesn't mean that I'm not supporting. I'm not engaging with my vice president and finding out what's going on each and every single campus.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, sorry. Third point. Sorry,
Yeah.
shocking memory. You said something about. Sorry, I didn't write it properly. Proactive. What was it?
He asked you.
Sorry, I must have.
Yeah, please.
Oh yeah, I remember you said it. How can I forget? People said you're very articulate, but you've got no policies. You haven't implemented anything. In fact, I've delivered on sort of at least 90% of my policies when I say, as in just except for one, so the 24-hour student kitchen, and I've gone beyond it. So I've lobbied the university to subsidize the FT and economist. They've said that yes, we'll subsidize the economist, but we can't subsidize the FT because of X, Y, and Z. It's very expensive, etc. But what they have done is that every single year every single month we'll get a later FT, so every single student can have access to these crucial resources that are good for sort of commercial awareness, as we know, for sort of in nowadays market. And the FT will be subsidized. They put a £5,000 on the side for the next academic year, so that will be online for every single student to be able to access and read the FT instead of paying £2.50 for it. Okay. I can go on further. One of the areas that I wanted to sort of improve on or see something new developed was the SPDS, the Skills and Personal Development Service, and it's a service whereby students can attend workshops, whether it's on sort of debating skills, whether that's on presentational skills, negotiation, etc. And they walk away with certificates. We've had our first events in end of January and beginning of sort of mid-Feb. Unfortunately, we couldn't get them sort of certified because it's going to take a sort of a much longer process where we're looking to employ someone for, sort of full-time for it, including us SABs to be trained to be able to deliver these workshops. Okay. So I can go on more, but it's all on my manifesto, etc.
Thank you. I just want you to, for about 30 seconds, just speak to the crowd and tell them exactly why they should vote for you for president.
I'm buying myself some time. It's been a very good year. I've enjoyed it. I've loved every single sort of day of it. It's been one of those jobs where every morning you wake up and you're just happy to be in campus. I want to continue for another year. It's been a year of sort of, like I said, change and a year of action. I want to see us go even a step further next year, having more impact on students' lives. I'm happy that I've delivered on my policies, but it isn't only just about policies. It's really about getting students engaged, students involved. I want our Students' Union to be a hub of opportunity for every single student to feel welcome, to feel that they can come and contribute, to feel that they can come to university, come to the Students' Union and walk away with some benefit. I put down sort of my manifesto points and I hope they sort of resonate with each and every one of you. And if they don't, come and speak to us and find out obviously what we could do even more. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Captain.